So oftentimes when we're talking about racism, especially if we're talking about racialized violence or police brutality, somebody has to chime in saying, well, if Black lives matter that much, then why do Black people keep killing each other? This is the 6th and final installment of our series called Terms and Conditions, where we are exploring assumptions that seem to be present in conversations about race. And today's terms and conditions go something like this. If Black people expect for others to fight against racial injustice, then they better get it together. Now listen, there's no denying that sometimes Black people commit crimes against other Black people. But the problem with this popular notion of Black on Black crime is that that term is used to make it seem like it's somehow special that Black people commit crimes against other Black people. The truth is that people in general, red, yellow, black, or white, tend to commit crimes against people that look something like them. And that's just because people tend to live close to people who also look like them. In fact, when you look at crime rates in Black communities and white communities, they're pretty much the same in proportion. But there are plenty of other blogs and books and thought leaders that you can find that can talk about why the term Black on Black crime is misleading. I want to hone in on 2 problems with these terms and conditions that I don't feel are said enough. The first problem with these terms and conditions is that it sets up this unnecessary order of priority, saying that we have to make sure that there's no more crime in the Black community before we can care about all the other ways that Black people are affected by racism in America. That is simply not true. We can care about gang violence in the Black community. We can also care about state-sanctioned violence against Black people. The second problem with those terms and conditions is hard for me to condense into a concise statement. But it sounds a lot to me like those people who say, well, if women don't want to be raped, then they shouldn't dress so provocatively. Or if young Black men don't want to get harassed by the police, then they should pull their pants up. It's this idea that somehow people forfeit their inherent human dignity by behaving in some way that some other human thinks is not respectable in some way. It's basically another way of saying if people don't want to be abused, then they'd better behave a certain way or else they have it coming. But imagine, say you were watching the news and there was a teenage boy that was standing on this bridge threatening to jump to their death. All of a sudden, this older man comes and pushes the teenager off of the bridge. When they interview that man later on and say, why did you push that teenager off of the bridge? He says, well, he was putting himself in danger. He was already standing there saying he was going to kill himself. I don't know anyone who would think that that logic is legitimate. So even if it were true that Black people were somehow inherently less civilized than other people and more savage and just prone to killing one another willy-nilly, it's not true. But even if it were, how would that legitimate people? How would that then legitimate violence being done against us? Well, you heard my take on today's terms and conditions. Feel free to leave your comments under this video or on my blog or on Facebook or wherever you're watching this. This is the final installment of this particular series, but I'm not done vlogging. So if you want to make sure that you never miss a vlog, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel or to my mailing list and you'll get these videos directly to your inbox. The music that you heard today on this video is also original and you can hear that at my website, andrerhenry.com. And this video has been brought to you in part by my wonderful patrons at Patreon. Shout out to all of my patrons, especially Diane Ugie, Tamisha Tyler, and Becca Benavich. I could not do this without you. And if you want to be a part of creating this kind of content that covers social justice issues, I would love it if you would consider becoming one of my patrons. You can find my Patreon page at patreon.com/AndreHenryMusic. I think that's everything. I think that's everything. All right, see you next time. Peace.
Oh, the world is in the shape that we choose.